Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, Malnadu TV, V4 Stream, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you of the current topics or the impact of COVID. And today our topic is a very, very hot and current, and that is the new Agriculture Farm Act 2020. But before I will start that, I would like to inform that today world is celebrating World Rabies Day. World Rabies Day is an international awareness campaign coordinated by the Global Alliance for Rabies Control, a non-profit organization with the headquarters in the United States. It is a United Nations observance and has been endorsed by international human and veterinary health organizations such as the World Health Organizations, etc. World Rabies Day takes place each year on September 28th, the anniversary of the death of Louis Pasteur, who, with the collaboration of his colleagues, developed the first efficacious rabies vaccine. World Rabies Day aims to raise awareness about the impact of rabies on human and animals. Today, we are also celebrating the birthday of Shaheed-e-Azam Bhagat Singh. Shaheed Bhagat Singh was born in Punjab, now in Pakistan, on September 27, 1907, to a Sikh family deeply involved in political activities. He quit school at the age of 13 to devote his life to Indian independence. He was the revolutionary hero of the Indian independence movement. Shaheed Bhagat Singh was found guilty of killing a British police officer and hanged on March 23, 1931. We pay our homages to him. Bharat Ratna Lata Mangeshkar's birthday is also today. We are also celebrating her birthday. Lata Mangeshkar, born in 1929, is one of the best known and most respected playback singer in India. She has recorded over 25,000 songs in over 1,000 Hindi films and has sung songs in over 36 regional Indian languages and foreign languages. The Dada Saheb Phalke Award was bestowed on her in 1989. In 2001, in recognition of her contributions to the nation, she was awarded the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honor. France conferred her its highest civilian award, the Officer of the Legion of Honor, in 2007. She is the recipient of 3 National Film Awards, 4 Filmfare Best Female Playback Awards, 2 Filmfare Special Awards, Filmfare Lifetime Achievement Awards, and many more. In 1974, she became the first Indian to perform in the Royal Albert Hall, London. We wish her many happy returns of the day. Now, today's topic, New Agriculture Farm Act 2020. Yes, because yesterday only the President of India has signed the bills and it has become act. Agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will be in the end contribute most to real wealth, good morals, and happiness. If you ate today, thank a farmer. Salient features of the 3 Farms Acts. The Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020. It seeks to allow barrier-free trade of farmers' produce outside the physical premises of the markets notified under the various State Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee laws, APMC Acts. The Act will prevail over the APMC Acts in the area outside such markets. The Act allows barrier-free intra-state and interstate trade of farmers' produce. The Act defines farmer as an individual who is engaged in the production of farmers' produce by self or by hired labor. The Act allows farmers, FPOs, and traders to engage in trade of farmers' produce. Traders transacting with farmers must make payments for scheduled farmers' produce on the same day or within maximum 3 working days, provided a receipt is given to farmers on the same day. The Act provides for setting up of electronic trading platform to facilitate direct and online buying and selling of farmers' produce. The second one, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. The Act provides a framework for farmers to engage in contract farming, that is, farming as per an agreement with the buyer before sowing, under which farmer sells produce to the buyer at a predetermined price. The sponsor may enter into an agreement with the farmers to purchase farming produce. The Act provides for a farming agreement prior to the production or rearing of any farm produce, aimed at facilitating farmers in selling farm produce to sponsors. The price of farming produce should be mentioned in the agreement. For prices subject to variation, a guaranteed price for the product and a clear reference for any additional amount above the guaranteed price must be specified in the agreement. And the third act, the Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020. The Act empowers the central government to control the production, supply, distribution, storage, and trade of essential commodities. The Act seeks to increase competition in the agriculture sector and enhance farmers' income. It seeks to provide that stock limits on agriculture produce can be applied only in extraordinary circumstances based on price rise. The bill includes provisions to remove commodities like cereals, pulses, oilseeds, edible oils, onion, and potatoes from the list of essential commodities. Now, there are some observations because, as you all know, that lots of opposition of this act is going on in the entire country or many parts of the country. I will not say entire country, some parts of the country. But there are some observations. The MSP is the preset rate at which the central government purchases produce from the farmers regardless of market rates and are declared for 23 crops at the beginning of each sowing seasons. However, the center only purchases paddy, wheat, and select pulses in large quantities, and only 6% of farmers actually sell their crops at MSP rates, according to the 2015 Shanta Kumar Committee's report using National Sample Survey data. None of the laws directly impinges upon the MSP regime. However, most government procurement centers in Punjab, Haryana, and a few other states are located within the notified APMC mandis. More than half of all government procurement of wheat and paddy in the last 5 years has taken place in Punjab and Haryana, according to Agriculture Ministry data. More than 85% of wheat and paddy grown in Punjab and 75% in Haryana is bought by the government at MSP rates. These states are also most invested in the APMC system with a strong mandi network, a well-oiled system of Artiya or commission agents facilitating procurement. The Punjab government charges a 6% mandi tax along with a 2.5% fee for handling central procurement and earns an annual revenue of about rupees 3,500 crores from these charges. So we have seen the salient features of all the three bills and some observations. Now, to discuss this, we have a very, very elite panel today. We have a one bureaucrat who is representing the government, one person from the corporate, and one is an agriculturist. So I would like to invite my first guest. He is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. Dr. Bose is one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19. He is also the principal advisor, Government of India Heritage Project. He is the chairman of Indian Red Cross, Kerala. He was the Vice Chancellor of National Museum, University of Delhi. He has authored 40 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi, including novels, short stories, and essays. 4 of his books have become bestsellers. 4 books on Vastu and architecture and 1 book on housing received prestigious the Sharjah International Book Fair Award. Dr. Bose is a housing expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. The path-breaking institutions set up by him, such as Nimriti Kendra, Building Center, District Tourism Council, and Habitat Alliance, have been replicated at the state, national, and global level. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasures of Sri Padmanabhaswamy Temple. Dr. Bose addressed United Nations General Assembly and specialized sessions 5 times on various international issues. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Kerala government termed him Lord of Ideas. Former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh called him inspired civil servant, and our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi called him Man of Ideas. Welcome, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, to our show.
Thank you.
Dr. Bose, today's topic, as we know that it is a very controversial topic because of the opposition going on. And I want to keep it on record that for the first time in last 6 months, I called several personalities to come on my show, and they took some or other excuses for not coming to the show. And their main reason was that it's a bit controversial and hot topic, so they do not want to come on this. But I am thankful to all of you who has joined today and giving your views, because our idea is not to create any controversy. We are not going to have, we just want to listen your experts' views, all of you, and convey to, because those views will go directly to the public at large. It is public who will decide whether what you are saying or what you are not saying is correct or not. So we are not the media to have any tutu meme or put our words on your mouth. So please, we would like to start with you, Dr. C, that on the today's topic, that is New Agriculture Farms Act 2020. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. I think we are discussing a topic of great contemporary relevance. My association with the field is that I have been, as a bureaucrat, handling agriculture from my level of secretary in the state government and later in the Agriculture Ministry of the Government of India. I am of the opinion that these bills will certainly mark a watershed in the liberation of the Indian farmers from exploitative tendencies. The 3 acts which you have succinctly put across here certainly have its own ramifications in the longer range in the field of agriculture. First, let me make the acts look simple. Because for every act, it conveys what it wants to convey. But for this act, I think it's a tongue twister. Farmers, produce, trade and commerce, promotion and facilitation. I don't know what it means. But it only means this is the APMC neutralization bill. That is what it is. And the second tongue twister is Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill. It only means Contract Farming Bill. The third one, Essential Commodities Act, means the present bill, or the present act, it is nothing but freedom of food stocking. I think these are the acts when it is put in its simplified form. It really empowers the farmers. It will lead to his liberation. It will lead to his emancipation. What are the benefits which the farmer can get from this? Number one, the farmer gets the freedom to sell his produce wherever he wants, at whatever price he decides. This is a freedom which is already there for those who manufacture in the industrial sector and also in the services sector. You can sell your produce anywhere, but only the farmer was tied down. He was tied down to the APMC. And what is the APMC? I'll come to it later. The APMC was started with all noble ideas, but unfortunately, we had abolished zamindari in the beginning, but a new type of zamindari system has come in the agricultural marketing, commissions and rents. Oppressive and exploitative systems came in the wake of APMC Act. That is not sought to be abolished. Only the farmer is being relieved from the clutches of the restrictive practices which prevailed in the APMC regime. Now the second one, contract farming. See, it gives freedom to the farmer to enter into contract with any producer, any food processor, any exporter. Yes, the farmer knows best what is good for him. And the Essential Commodities Act, as you know, this was in 1955. When there is a war, when there is food scarcity, it is thought necessary to put certain restrictions on the hoarding or the stocking of food grains and others. Now there is no situation like that. India has surplus food grains now. We all saw it in the COVID days. We had no food scarcity in this country. From the days of PL 480, we have come to be one of the surplus producing countries in the world. Therefore, the Essential Commodities Act, the restrictions placed on stocking by the agri-businessmen and also the agriculturists has no relevance now. This act seeks to change it. Now, I would say that this is opening up new vistas to the farmer to get good market for his produce. And number two, the investment. It is paraded in the streets that the farmers are going to be at the mercy of the corporates. No, this is not right. Do you think the farmer is so incompetent? Farmer is an nincompoop that he cannot resist the onslaught from the corporates. Let us not forget. You might have heard of a corporate once upon a time, long, long ago. There was a corporate, English East India Company. Who made them pack out from this country? India's farmers. Yes, India's farmers. Gandhiji, who came from South Africa, encouraged by C.F. Andrews and others, he found that India lives in her villages. He even changed his wardrobe. He took a loincloth, the symbol of the farmer. The majority of the freedom fighters were farmers. If they could pack off the multinational company, which had even an army with it, don't think that Indian farmers will be at the mercy of the corporates. No. And who are the corporates in India? So recently, we all have heard of the PepsiCo. PepsiCo is packing off from Kerala. Who made them back off from there? The farmers, the women. Now they are approached the government for permission to pack off. Therefore, this threat of corporates swallowing the farmers does not exist. Farmers are competent farmers and are empowered. They know how to control the corporates. And number two, why this supposition that only corporates will come in the field? Why not the farmers' cooperatives? I had the opportunity to head Asia's largest agricultural marketing cooperative, NAFED. See, long time back, if India could do that, I'm sure that the progressive farmers themselves will put in place ways and machinery, institutional mechanism for this. So I think the threat which comes from the corporates, which may swallow up the Indian farmer, it is like a blind man searching in the dark, a black pot which is not there. This is fictitious, this is imaginary. Indian farmer has been given the second stint of freedom. Now he knows how to build upon that. I'm sure that with stalwarts in the field like Keshavan and Jose Thomas who are in the field, I'm sure they'll also share the view that the corporates are not a threat to the farmers, and the farmers know how to work in the ecosystem, which is now put in place by the globalization, liberalization, and privatization. I think I see a great future for the Indian farming community from these three progressive legislations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. And Dr. Bose says that he sees a great future for the farmers with these three acts, which has been signed yesterday by the President of India. And he says that if we simplifyly just see the acts, we will come to know that first thing is that they have not abolished the APMC, but they have abolished the commission agents who were just exploiting the farmers. So that is what where the opposition is being raised on the street. But one should understand that because earlier the jamidars were exploiting the farmers, after that this APMC, those artias or those commission agents, they have started exploiting the farmers, for which, according to Dr. Bose, this act will only abolish them, but APMC will be there. Secondly, he says that the second act mentioned very clearly, now the farmers have a choice to sell their products anywhere in India with any price. So what is the harm in this? It is a good thing, because now the farmer can sell his produce anywhere, wherever he will get a good price. So that is why this act is also good. And the third, about the Essential Commodity Act, he says that this act was from 1955. At that time, there was shortage of food. PL 480 was in force. We were getting the wheats under the scheme of PL 480. But now, because we have surplus foods, and we don't need for keeping the or holding or stocking the food grains, why the Essential Commodity Act is required. So according to Dr. Bose, this is also been repealed, and now the new act has given a very good impact and liberation to the farmers. And he said the farmers are not a fool, that anyone can make fool of them. And he mentioned very clearly the opposition which is raised by the opposition parties is basically about the corporates swelling the farmers. He says when India can be liberated by the farmers only, the corporate like East India Company was removed, or has been asked to pack up from India because of the farmers. So he said, why not now? Why we are have this feeling that the farmers are weak? They can also have their farmers cooperative societies, which, like he has mentioned about the NAFED, correct, Dr. Bose? NAFED or
Yeah.
NABARD?
NAFED.
NAFED, yes. So NAFED, he has mentioned that is Asia's biggest cooperative society, which he had once time he headed that NAFED. And he says when they can have this movement here, why the oppositions or the so-called public who are involved in the agitations are misguiding the farmers, that the corporates will swallow them. Thank you, Dr. Bose, for giving your views. Now I would like to go to our next guest, and he is Mr. T.R. Keshwan. Mr. Keshwan is the chairman of FICCI National Committee on Agriculture. He is the president, Tractor and Mechanization Association of India, TMA. He is the chairman of Vision Group, Agri Implements, Department of Industries and Commerce, Karnataka government. He is group president, Corporate Relations and Alliance, TAFE Limited, the world's third largest tractor manufacturer and India's largest exporter of tractors, consisting of MF and Eicher brand of tractors. 40 years of national and international experience in both functional and management areas he has. He is Executive Council member of India Asian Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He is also Executive Council member of Indo-Australian Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Mr. Keshwan, on our show. Mr. Keshwan, you have heard what Dr. Bose has mentioned, and clearly he supported all the three acts, and he says these acts are for the benefit of the farmers, not as projected in some of the medias or by the opposition parties. Now, you have heard very clearly what he has said, so I need not to repeat. So I would like to ask your views about the new Agriculture Farm Acts 2020. Mr. T.R. Keshwan, please.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm by and large fully in agreement with Dr. Bose, but I like to elaborate on, and I will elaborate on slightly differently. And he very rightly said, simply put, it is basically a new rationalization to APMC, creating a contract act, and enabling EC Act, modifying it so that stocking is no more a problem because as the food security is not an issue anymore. Very correct. What I genuinely believe is this should have been done long back. I don't know how many of we have realized that all these acts have been in discussion maybe over the last 10, even more years. The question was who is going to build the cat at that time? And there has always been a fear that if some of these acts got repelled, will it affect the farming community? The answer is very simple. See, we had a farming community because I looked at farmers as well as the management associations of companies. We had a set of farming communities. They were locked down and not allowed to sell their produce elsewhere. So they had no choice than to be dependent on the mandis. Here I like to quote from C. Subramaniam. I think it's a very interesting quote which probably came in 1960s, early 60s or late 60s, where he said that the mandis were created by Chotu Ram. And how many of you really realize that Chotu Ram used to be the one of the ministers in the pre-independent areas who was part of the Punjab province at that time. He created that, but then C. Subramaniam said, I have very serious doubts that the expectations of Chotu Ram's movement really made any sense today because while we removed and made it much more easier, there are a lot of people, middlemen, who have become big and now they are exploiting the farmers. Now, this is said by one of the leaders at that time who was also considered a visionary when it comes to changes. He's also been one of the persons who actually created the the food security and the ability to buy food and store for the government at that time. And so it's very important to look at those statements. See, the issue here is I don't think nothing much has changed other than a liberty is given to the farmers to do what he wants. I'll give you an example. In the past, if I want to move food or anything through train, for me it became almost impossible because the kind of permissions I used to get before. Today, with this opening up of borders and the APMC Act getting changed, today, if I want, I mean, government is willing to now supply trains to farmers to carry the goods from place to place. So that what will happen, what is the transformation, what is going to happen is India is going to become one market and farmers are going to find the potential everywhere in India and they can actually get the best price. One example, I am also part of the Horticultural Association of India where more than 2,000 farmers participate in a WhatsApp group. And I genuinely want you people to look at some of those discussions, what is happening. How can I move the Kashmir apples right down to Tamil Nadu now? The question is, sir, I'm willing to buy, this is the price, I'm going to pick it up. Just think about it. These kind of changes, if I have been talking about 2 years or 3 years before, it would have been much more difficult to execute. Today, there is a confidence in the farmers, the educated farmers who understand the farming, who understand the laws, that yes, today I have an opportunity. This changes has been clearly said like something like a watershed in 1991 for the industrial policy. And when the new industrial policy got revealed, a lot of questions were asked. They said, what happens to the big car makers and what is going to happen? What happens to the large industries at that time? Where will the small people be able to compete with them or not? But I wanted to really look back and see, look pre-90s and post-90s, where are the so-called big companies at that time and which are the big companies today? Many of the large companies in India were created by very small people. And why can't the similar opportunities be given for the farmers? Why do you underestimate that farmers and FPOs, they don't know how to do their business? I mean, I sometimes blame for our own governance system. We always thought that we have to look after farmers, we have to take care of farmers. I wanted to say that kindly stop being taking care of people, give them the ability, give them the freedom, they will evolve much more. I'm my genuine and true belief. Similar thing is on the contract act. I don't know how many people realize that The Contract Act is actually enabled that the act entered between the farmer and the buyer actually become enforceable. That has been a big problem in the past. It has now become enforceable. And the government of Tamil Nadu, that's the interesting thing here, they have done this almost 3 years back. And today they have been very comfortable on the act. Government of India actually picked up some of those ideas, the best ideas, what has been happening across the country. And they thought this is a good thing to do. Of course, there's slightly more modified act when they brought it. But the interesting thing is, remember earlier, it was extremely difficult for farmers to enforce. Today, this at least gives them the ability to enforce the price he has agreed on, enforce the terms he has agreed on. I think it's a great opportunity for the farmers, and I'm definitely they will do much better. And I don't want to talk about the EC Act at all because I genuinely fully believe that EC Act should have been repealed as soon as we have become food secure. Simple reason. Today, you notice that there is 20% of wastage in grains, up to 40% in vegetables and fruits. The question is, where are those kind of stores and processors which you could have converted all this and made these waste into produce, which can be sold at multiple levels of pricing? What could have been sold at 2 rupees, by the time it gets processed, it goes for 20 rupees. So let us not forget that we have been giving a bad time for the farmer because every loss in the system of food grains or fruits, people think that the middlemen absorb it. It's extremely sorry to say that all these things are finally absorbed by the farmer, whether the 20% wastages in food grains or it is the 40%, up to 40% on fruits and vegetables. End of the day, the farmer used to bear the brunt. I think opening up the EC Act, allowing people to work on it, I always genuinely believe that 1 lakh crore pumped in for processing and storages, which acted well, and you can actually leverage it 4 times if you really can get the companies and larger companies and people to come together and put up the entire system, whether it is movement of vegetables, movement of fruits, whether it is containers, whether it is train, whether you need a cold chain or we require a cold storage. All this, I think, is going to emanate from this, and I genuinely believe that this is going to benefit the farmer, this is going to benefit the country, and much more. This is going to benefit the exports because I think till today exports for us was a knee-jerk reaction when it comes to agriculture, and this is going to change the scenario. So I genuinely believe it's good. Yes, there will be noises because one of the problem in life is fear of unknown. So anything new is brought. The first thing people say is, "Hey, what happens if this can go wrong?" Because unfortunately, people don't think what happens if this go right. I think that is our problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keshwan, for giving your views on this agriculture farm acts. And Mr. Keshwan has endorsed what Dr. Bose has mentioned, and he says that he was wondering why this act or these bills were not bought 10 years back when it was discussed, but the only thing is who is going to bell the cat. And he says that because there is no fear, there should not be a fear in the farming community because these acts are beneficial for the farmers. And he has given the examples. He says that like APMC, they were exploiting. Now the farmers is having free hand to sell his produce anywhere, wherever he wants. Otherwise, earlier the APMC were dictating them and they were not allowed to sell anywhere else except the APMC. Now they are in the mandis of APMC. Now they are free, and that's why they can get a good price wherever they will get the price. Like he has given us his view that some of the farmer wants they have to procure or to sell their produce from Jammu Kashmir, like apple, and now from there how it can come to Delhi and others. So it was a problematic earlier. Now there is nothing because now this act is very clear, even for other produce which were restricted earlier. And he says the storage which was there. It should have repealed many years back. There is nothing like that. We should have that type of law for is about the storage. And he said that the corporates are definitely be helpful for the farmers, not harmful for the farmers, because they know that how they are going to earn money, but the farmers will get better price, which they were not getting earlier. And he says the wastage which is happening in the vegetables and the fruits is too much, and the losses were borne only by the farmers, not by the middleman earlier. But now, once it is a contract signed, which is enforceable between the corporates or with those who are procuring the produce, definitely the loss will be accordingly as per the conditions. So not the farmers is not going to lose the money. And he is very supportive of these three acts. And he says, even he mentioned about the industrial revolution when it came to India, everybody was worried what is going to happen. But then everybody saw the end result. And he says the opposition has to come, because we are always thinking the negative side, not the positive side. If it will be beneficial, we always think it is, if it is going to harm the farmers, what is going to happen. But they are not thinking that if it will benefit the farmers, what is going to happen. So Mr. Keshwan, as Dr. Anand Bose, both are supporting these three acts, and they are giving the reasons very clearly. They says that these acts are not at all against farmers, or they are not anti-farmers. Now I would like to invite my next guest. He is Mr. Jose Thomas. Mr. Thomas is a leading agriculturist and pioneer in food processing industry. He is the secretary of Christian Business Forum, Kochi. He and his family is in agriculture and mainly doing paddy cultivation in Kutanad, Alleppey. He is former trustee of Cochin Port. He is former chairman, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Kerala, and Kerala Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Welcome, Mr. Thomas, on our show. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Thomas. Please unmute. Please unmute, Mr. Thomas. You have heard what Mr. Dr. Bose has said and what Mr. Keshwan has said. And they both are agreeing in one way that these three acts now, because earlier it were bills, but now from yesterday, once the president has signed, it has become acts, are in the favor of the farmers, much needed acts and delayed act. According to Mr. Keshwan, even that he was expecting that this should have done earlier. And Dr. Bose is very clear that this act will give the benefits to the farmer. Never underestimate the farmer's intelligence and the knowledge. And they says that this acts will definitely give a boost to the farming community in India. Now, we would like to know, because you being the agriculturist and you are in the business, mainly doing the paddy cultivation, which is one of the main reason of this opposition of the act, we would like to know the new agriculture or Farm Acts 2020. Mr. Jose Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. It is very welcome that the previous laws in the Agricultural Produce Market Committee APMC system has been addressed with these farm bills, especially the APMC bypass bill. To make this truly beneficial for farmers in the long term, the bill must articulate the role and reach the state in agricultural and agricultural policy. As a person with background in food processing, I am aware that such business, this food processing, would benefit with greater ability of farm produce or products through better supply chains. If the government can step in to regulate and support the price at a farm level, the farmers would get the benefit that have been denied to them. Then it can be a win-win situation for all. According to rehabilitating the many livelihoods associated with the mandis should also be attended to as a part of the government's social and economical commitments. From farm law Parliament passed, I don't see any unwanted laws. 1991, the industry liberalized. Before that, there was a lot of limits. Agricultural law, liberalizing, they can, or the farmers can decide their crop, what to be cultivated and can sell anywhere. Haryana, Punjab, basmati rice production is much. Punjab farmers cannot sell to Haryana or other states, only through mandis, paying the commission. Now that has gone. Now they have the freedom to sell anywhere. So that can make good money. They can save this commission. Mandi is not banned. If they want, they can still sell through mandi. But whenever they want, and they can sell it through mandis. But if you sell it directly, they gain, or they don't have to give the commission. 2019, the Congress manifesto, they were after for this Farm Act, if they win the election. But luckily they didn't come, and our government could do this without any problems. Actually, this has to be consulted with the state governments. But it is one way it is better. We know the governments didn't consult with the state governments. If then this would not have been passed, they would have made a lot of problems. Initially, this will have some confusions, but can be solved. 1991 industrial liberalization, they should have done much earlier. After 29 years, this law implemented for agriculture. I think it is too late. Grape, there is no mandi in Maharashtra, but potato onions, there is mandi. Flowers, as Mr. Kesavan said, I think National Horticulture can sell, or they can route it through them. Then strawberry also, fruits, they don't have the mandis. Kerala, I don't understand why Kerala is making such a big sound. Kerala doesn't have much cultivation. Even coconut has been taken over by Tamil Nadu. Rubber gone. Cashew only 15 acres. Paddy is very little. It's not viable. Government must help the farmers or allow them to cultivate instead of paddy, some other things. They should give some support for the farmers. Kerala, there is no reason to make a lot of sound in this this law. Corporates must come. Without corporate, you cannot do any business. They can support the farmers, making agreement with them and buy it directly, avoiding these mandis. Farmers are now educated. They have all freedom to decide whatever they want. They can, mandis are not banned, and the farmers, they know that the communication is so fast. Without mandis, they can sell anywhere. Farmers are happy and beneficial, getting more income, avoiding these intermediaries. Nothing negative in this law. So I welcome this law, and you should bring the farmers into confidence. That's the main thing I think. Thank you very much.
I welcome this law, says Mr. Jose Thomas, and he says that whatsoever the government has done, it should have done earlier. He said when the industrial liberation was done in 1991, we have to wait 29 years for this Agriculture Act to come, which is very late according to him. He says because he is in the processing units, involved in the processing unit, he knows that how much the farmers has to suffer rooted through the mandis, where he has to pay heavy taxes or the commission. While now with this act, the government can fix up the price on the farm level, that farmer will get the price at his doorstep, and he need not to be worried about the mandi and giving the commission. And so the advantage will be he will be getting more money now, which he was not getting earlier. And he says that whatsoever the opposition is raising the voice It is unnecessary because even in many states doesn't have these types of problems. He has given the example of Maharashtra. Only the mandis, only the problem is onions, but strawberry and others are having no such type of restrictions. So he says that the advantage will be that once the farmers will get the money at his place, he is free to sell to whomsoever he wants to sell. And the other advantage is now, because the farmers are educated, so they know where they are getting the most benefit, there only they will like to sell their produce, and not like earlier that they are bound to sell to the mandis by giving the commission. And he has given the example of even basmati rice, that in Punjab, the basmati rice, they cannot sell to the nearby state like Haryana, and that has to be through the mandi only, where they have to pay hefty commission. So he welcomes the bill act rather now, and he says that I welcome it, and he agrees with both of our earlier speakers, and he says that the bill is very, very good. And he even mentioned that the opposition party has put it in the manifesto earlier and in the 2019 election, but now they are opposing that. They knows, and he says, I don't understand why Kerala is making noise while the Kerala doesn't have so much produce now. It has been taken over either by Tamil Nadu and other states. So that are the views of an agriculturist who is a pioneer in food processing units, Mr. Jose Thomas. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas, for giving your views. Now I would like to ask, my questions will be definitely bit, because I would like to know that, not I, rather the viewers will definitely like to know, if it's so good, then why there is a hue and cry on the streets. Now my first question is to Dr. Bose. Dr. Bose, the act says that they have taken away the protection given by APMC Act. Now, what is APMC Act and how it was affected by this act? Because the opposition is creating that APMC has been abolished, and whatsoever the protection APMC was giving to the farmers, it is gone, and the farmers are now on the mercy of only on the corporates. So we would like to know if you can just highlight what is APMC Act and how this act affected the APMC and the farmers. Dr. Bose, please.
I will start from the statement which you made in the beginning of your intervention now. Why this opposition to the act if it is so good? The answer is given by the Tamil song which became viral. Why this Kolaveri? Nobody knows. In public matters, it is not the truth or the reality which is important. It is a perception. What is a perception? The created or engineered or orchestrated perception that is sought to be circulated as a perception of the farmers. The first is, of course, APMC, I'm not coming into the details because all the three panelists and yourself have already explained what it all implies. Now the misgiving, the misconception that is paraded among the farmers is number one, MSP will be stopped. MSP is linked to the mandis because it is through the mandis that procurement is done, especially states like Punjab and Haryana. And as you know, the lion's share of the procurement of paddy and wheat in the whole country is from these two states. 80 to 90% of the farmers in these two states avail themselves of MSP. There is no statement that MSP will be banned or MSP will be lifted. Moreover, MSP was never a part of any legislation in this country. MSP came in 1965, if my memory is right, in the background of the Green Revolution, where production became exponentially great. Productivity increased. The result was the farmer did not get adequate price. Therefore, it is decided to have a safety net in the form of the minimum support price or MSP. This MSP is not there for all the agricultural produce. I think it is only for 23 items now. Now, the farmers of Punjab and Haryana were getting the MSP. They will continue to get the MSP. And where does the MSP come in? Only if the market price is low, then only the MSP comes in. Suppose the market price is high, there is no need for MSP. And the MSP was never a part of any legislation. The MSP was only by an executive order. Therefore, to say that MSP is not there in this act does not really make sense. It never was the part of any act. And even recently, the MSP has been increased. See, this is a political ploy, which the farmers also know how to use it, which the political parties also know how to use it. See, MSP has not been lifted. There is no need for any fear on that ground. And Mandi, just because most of the procurement in Punjab and Haryana were done through the mandis, mandis are not abolished. Only the restrictive practices in mandis have been abolished. And the other misgiving, some of which we have, I think, already answered here. The second positive aspect is what both Mr. Kesavan and Jose Thomas have pointed out, the tremendous opportunities which these bills offer. See, agriculture is going to be the mainstay, not only of the economy, but also will lead to the prosperity of this country. Think of Holland. See, Holland is such a small country, which does not have any features to become an agrarian country. Its geographical location itself is below the sea level. Not at all ideal for agricultural growth. But Holland is now feeding the entire Europe and even a part of the world. Now, you know, a statistics from Holland is that by 2050, it's not very far. By 2050, the world will need double the food grains which all the farmers produce in the whole world in the last 6,000 years. That is the opportunity which is going to be there for agriculture. I see before my eyes, with Jose Thomas here, one of the pioneers in the food processing industry. Mr. Kesavan also highlighted it. See, the wastage that is there in the horticulture sector, he said 40%, yes. I remember making a presentation before the Parliament committee in which Mr. Sharad Pawar was the minister, Professor K.V. Thomas was the minister, the other minister, and M.S. Swaminathan himself was there. In the presentation as the representative of the government of India, I said we have exceeded, the farmers have exceeded the target as far as vegetables and fruits are concerned. He was surprised. But what happened? At that time, 50,000 crores, a whopping 50,000 crores worth of fruits and vegetables are lost, wasted. Why? Hardly 3% gets processed. Now, Mr. Kesavan said he has been a doyen in this field. There is tremendous opportunity for agri-business. That is an area which was hitherto forgotten. See, Jose Thomas said, when the liberalization, globalization, privatization came, the new economic policy was unleashed. How came that people forgot agriculture? Now we are going to make amends for that. Agro business is going to take place. Food processing industry is going to increase in this country. And now how about logistics? Logistics, there is part of activities in the logistics sector. Yes, the logistics parks will come. We need warehouses. We need cold storage. And now the first refrigerated train, Mr. Kesavan knows it very well. In 2009, the idea was given by NAFED when I had the opportunity to be there. Now it has become a part of national policy. The finance minister has declared that refrigerated trains will crisscross this country, offering a pan-India market for agricultural produce. Then trucks, refrigerated and other trains. That's tremendous opportunity. And agripreneurs, youngsters, more startups will be there. And Kesavan said, why do you feel that agriculturists cannot do that? Many of the corporates have been built up by youngsters who never had any potential, perceived potential with them. Yes, come to the Adanis, isn't it? Ambani. Who was Dhirubhai Ambani? Dhirubhai Ambani was selling petrol in the petrol bunk of Penang. An ordinary boy who was filling petrol. And he is the one who has built up them. So don't underestimate the common man. Don't underestimate the agriculturists. I think these youngsters with us, this new generation will become agripreneurs. India is going to be the agricultural hub of the world. If by 2050, we need double the food which the farmers had produced in the last 6,000 years, India is going to feed the world. Therefore, this is a great opportunity. where God, as Ellen Keller said, if God closes one window, he will open 10 doors. I think this amendment to the APMC Act or the diffusion of the APMC Act and this legislation may have closed one window for somebody, but it has opened 100 doors for the agriculture. I think this is going to usher in the world of agriculture. Farmers are going to come to the center stage of economic and social activity, social change. The transformation, the metamorphosis, which is going to take place in the country, is going to be centered around agriculture. As once we said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Yes, Jai Kisan. Kisan is going to determine what India's future is going to be. These are the three bills which is going to usher in that agro-based society which India is going to be in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bose, for giving the forceful your answer of my simple question. But yes, you have definitely enlightened the viewers. What are what are the advantages, the benefits in this acts, and what's the opposition which is taking place? Either they have been misguided or they are doing it because they have to oppose. But you are very clear in your ideas and your views, and you mentioned that India is going to be the leader as far as the agriculture is also concerned because of these three acts which will be going to benefit the farmers drastically. Thank you very much, Dr. Bose, for giving your views about this. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Keshwan. Mr. Keshwan, everybody is saying that earlier there was a Jamidari Pratha where the Jamidar used to extend the money to the farmer, and then the farmer is bound to sell whatsoever produce they have. If they cannot, then he has to pay the interest on the money which he has bought, and it's like a slavery. Now, do you think by this act, it is instead of Jamidars, now the corporates will make the farmers slave? Do you agree with this, or what are your views about this?
Thank you. I think it's a very relevant question. What I wanted to say here is an act does not make jamindars or it does not make corporate vultures. The act is always done with a visionary and a zeal. I think what is important here, now the question is why, let me explain this a little bit. What is important here is there is one part is creating an act or a law. The second part is creating an implementing mechanism. The implementing mechanism is what should address all the perceptions and the needs of the different stakeholders in the system. And interestingly, India is extremely good at it. The first example I will give is the GST Council. GST Council and the state taxes and tax involvements with the different kinds of corporates and movement, the big, the small, the little fellow, and creating a system of GST with all the states coming in and accepting that is a big stuff. And we have proved time and again that in a difficult situation, India is capable of creating rolling out a workable solution. See, there is nothing perfect. It goes on changing. Even the GST, I'm sure, is going to do some more tinkering down the road. It's going to happen, but it's creating an acceptable solution. I think in the current situation, one more thing I think we will have to request the government, I'm sure they will be looking at this, is you have created an act. How are you going to ensure that whatever the ideas, what has come out of the act, how is this going to be implemented? And how is it going to ensure that there is a fairness in all the areas? See, why do you call a corporate a corporate? I'm just saying a fellow is buying and a fellow is selling. In any market, always there's no equilibrium. Either sometimes the buyer has got a higher hand, sometimes the seller has got a higher. This you have seen in the share markets. You've seen the share prices fluctuate for no reason, what it may be. And then there is an intervention at that time, say that, look, if the shares are very volatile, you stop the trading. United States have done it in case of agricultural produce and commodity values. They have an act, they have actually a representative system. When there is high volatility in the purchases, they actually intervene. And I'm sure India will also commit some of those acts to ensure that there is a fair trade. I've been advocating time and again that, like we have created a GST council, it's a very important thing is to create also an agricultural council. Why I call it an agricultural council is this falls between the center and the states. And it is very important that everybody need to sit together and agree how to do. It doesn't mean that you have to agree 100%. You agree that these are the areas I'm willing to do and this I'll stick doing it, number one. Agriculture is also falls between 10 or 11 ministries, central ministry. There is the water ministry, the processing ministry, an agricultural ministry, there's a railway, there is transport. Every one of them is important. So unless you create a council which actually has a control on getting all these people together and actually creating implementable, let me underline that, implementable and also accepted by all the stakeholders, start rolling it out. If there are 100 things to roll out, start rolling 20 or 25 or 30 what you accepted. You did this in GST. You saw the benefits in it. Why can't you do this in agriculture? My worry is, that's why I always have said earlier also, see, agriculture, unfortunately in India, we tend to remember it only once in 5 years when the elections come. And we also responsible for spoiling the farmers by giving all those reliefs which is linked to elections. So you cannot create a society who thinks that I will always get a benefit if I shout. I want to create a society which believes that if I can stand in my own legs, and I work in the right environment, I can do wonders. So the right environment, I think it is high time the government needs to create. Let the right people join together, let the states be together. If you don't want to call it an agricultural council, call it by any name. What is in the name finally? The purpose is a joint action committee, which is not a short term because this is not going to be solved in 6 months or in 4 years. I think it's going to be a long term agenda. And this also need to address agriculture. Not only I talk about domestic, but also we need to address what are you going to do for exports. We also need to address how are I going to relook at the subsidies, because there are so many things which actually comes in agriculture, and many of these things currently the way it is happening is also a wastage. So I think pooling this, putting the brains available in the politicians and also the bureaucrats and also the private heads, I think it is possible to change. I think see, an act is important. It is like in a football, no? You kick the first ball. What you would have done is you must have had the forwards, the defenders, everybody in position so that you can take the ball right across to your goal. Sometimes we put the ball, you don't create everything else. I think that is what is now lacking. And the perception handling is very important. And this two things, if they do, I'm very, very sure that we are going to see a bright future. I think I'm not really worried about this, but handling a situation more important. And I think somebody has to really get on with it.
Thank you, Mr. Keshwan, for giving your views. And Mr. Keshwan has raised 1 or 2 points. I would like to clarify. Mr. Keshwan, you said that the implementation part, what I have studied this act or the bills rather, now it has become act, is that the government has addressed that also, that in case of any dispute, there is a provision that they can file to the SDM the complaint, and if the SDM will not sort out in 30 days, then there is an authority to look after this, which will be equivalent to DC or the district magistrate. So I am sure that if the complete studies will be done of these acts, government has taken those cares. But you rightly said that like we have a GST council, we should also have a council, agriculture council, where all the stakeholders, all the states must be there representing, so that grievances, whatsoever the differences are there, they must also come out, and we can amend in the GST. There are lots of changes have come. After all, nobody is perfect at one given time, and initially one has to kick, as you mentioned about the football, the first kick. Similarly, now the kick has been done. Let's hope that everything shall be sorted out. Thank you, Mr. Keshwan, for giving your views. Now I would like to move to our next guest, Mr. Thomas. When this act, according to, is pro-farmer, then why in some places farmers themselves are protesting? I am not talking of the opposition party. I am talking about the farmers. And according to you, it's a very pro-farmer act. So what you say, being yourself a farmer, agriculturist, and a pioneer in the food processing unit, we would like to know from you, when this act is pro-farmer, then why in some places farmers are protesting? Mr. Thomas, please.
The farmers are instigated by the political parties. They are, according to me, the farmers are happy because they will be getting more money without these intermediaries. So always better to sell it, all the agricultural products, straight to the end users, or even for our food processors, we buy directly from the farmers now, without any commission agents or nothing. So what I feel is you should give more importance for the agricultural commodities, and let the government also give more importance without these politicians making so much of agitation. They just want to make problems for the whatever you make. They make some problems even for the workers who are getting the workers from other states like Assam, Bengal, and all. Now they are all gone. None of the Keralites work in the farm. No, but we don't get, now there is a big shortage in workers in the farm of cardamom plucking or rubber tapping and everything. So unless we Keralites also go into this farming business or helping mentality, nothing will happen. This is what I think and I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. But my question remains the same. One side, you and other panelists have mentioned that the farmers are not fools. They are very intelligent. Then how come the opposition parties can instigate them and ask them to come on roads and to do the agitation? Yes, but there are some black sheep, according, I think so. But still, we have to see. Or the other way is that government has not given the clarity to the farmers. They have not explained the act clearly, so the farmers are still unaware the advantages of this. And that's why we want to explore those things, and we want that the viewers at least get these things, what is right, what is wrong. Now my question is to Dr. C.V. Anand Bose. Dr. Bose, they have made amendments in the Essential Services Act. Now, what are the implications of the amendments made in Essential Services Act? How it will affect the interest of the farmers? Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, please.
Yeah, it is Essential Commodities Act.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah,
Essential
Commodities. Yes.
Yeah.
The Essential Commodities Act, the restrictions that were placed there have been lifted. Now the cereals or pulses or any agricultural commodity can be stored either by the farmer or by the intermediary, I won't say agent, the agri-businessman, without any restrictions. This is not something which gives a carte blanche or a free check to them all the time. When there is a war, when there is a famine, when there is a crisis, when there is a disaster, certainly the controls will again come. Doesn't mean that it's a kind of a free-for-all situation, no. But as of now, there is no need for such restrictions. Where that again gives to the Inspector Raj. If a prosperous farmer, he produces more, and if a prosperous businessman procures more and stores it, the inspector will land up anytime and can always find fault with him and harass him. It is that harassment which is being lifted from this. Now, we are all very happy that this discussion is never political. Therefore, but if political reality has become part of contemporary history, I think we cannot shy it away for the sake of the viewers. I can just tell you one statement which was there in the manifesto. We will repeal the APMC Act and make trade in agricultural produce, including exports and interstate trade, free from all restrictions. Number one. Number two, the Essential Commodities Act 1955 belongs to the age of controls. We promise to replace the act by an enabling law that can be invoked only in the case of emergencies. This is the statement in the manifesto of the ruling party. It sounds like that, because that is what the ruling party has done. But unfortunately, this is a ditto from the manifesto or the political party which is opposing it now. Now is the question answered? Who is instigating the farmers? See, farmers are being instigated for political reasons without naming who it is. Having been in the field of agriculture for a long, long time, and also sharing this platform with Keshavan and Jose Thomas, who are in the field of agriculture. May I tell you that the mandi politics in Punjab, the mandis are virtually owned or controlled by one individual who represents a political party. Now, the newspapers are reported, no one can move a grain without his consent. He has a transportation network. He has warehouses. He has control over the mandis. And he decides what is to be procured. Who this he is not my cup of tea to answer. That let somebody, that he, like in A.G. Gardner, they said, my name is Legion, that he is not one person, that he is a prototype, he. Like Walt Whitman said, do I contradict myself? Yes, I do contradict myself because I contain multitudes. These political leadership, the new zamindars, contain multitudes. They control who should sell, where they should sell, how much you should sell. And if you don't obey, they know how to bring you to book. And now go to Maharashtra. In Maharashtra also, there are certain implied political emperors there too. The sugar lobby. We say as if it's the first time that a farmer is allowed to sell what he wants in the contract system. In the sugar industry, it has been there. It is there long back. This system is there. Who controls it there? That leader, I don't want to name the leader, that legendary, that Legion he there, that he has got, newspapers report 10,000 crores every year. And the other he has got 5,000 crores. Now tell me, what is the reason for this? Isn't it very easy? And what happened to the other acts also? This is not the first act which a nation is passing in the recent past. I do not want to tilt towards any side, but I can only state the facts to answer your question. We had the scrapping of Article 370, reciting of Article 370. We had the Citizenship Amendment Act. We had the lockdown and the other measures. All these were criticized. Why? Why? Because now it is a fact clearly known. There is a Break India Brigade, which consists of, this is all analyzed in various, I am not taking any particular political party. I said there are forces within a democratic country. This is the price we have to pay for democracy. See, democracy will always be under attack. That is what Jawaharlal Nehru said. Freedom is in peril, defend it with all your might. Democracy is not something which is there on a platter. We have to face these challenges within and outside. Therefore, these are all, I don't think dissent is a bad thing. In a democracy, dissent is the strength of democracy. So these are all reflections of dissent. But unfortunately, people have a right to know the truth. Now, untruth is paraded as truth. For some time, certainly people will believe this is the truth. But in the case of the other bills which are passed, which is now being implemented, this will also be implemented. I have only one thing to say. As Keshavan and Rajesh, you also said it. There should be a serious determination to implement the acts that have been passed. See, we are a soft state. We pass laws, but we don't implement it. We should not be a soft state. We should implement it and put in mechanism should be there. As Kesavan said about the Agriculture Council, I may even suggest an agricultural regulatory authority. Why not? Where all any grievances can be settled out. A high power authority should be there because we are a federalism. Therefore, this misconception will always remain. But the farmer will know the truth. I am sure this will all quell down. As Shakespeare said, this will be nothing but sound and fury, signifying nothing. That's all. That's part of democracy. It's a vibrant democracy. But ultimately, people know who Jesus Christ is, who Judas is. Judas cannot masquerade Jesus Christ. For some time he can, yes, he can do. The political Judases are there, but the political Christs are also there. Ultimately, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, that will happen. We all believe Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. We believe we are all brothers. Therefore, even in this democracy where dissent is there, truth will ultimately prevail. And in the case of this bill also, truth will ultimately prevail. And what is the time limit for ultimate? Hardly 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that's all. Then you will say, gone with the wind. The opposition will be gone with the wind because truth is there. See,
Okay.
So I think therefore to conclude, what we are hearing in the street as opposition by the agriculturists is nothing but a drill which is engineered by the political bosses. The farmers will not play into their hands. Ultimately, farmers will come out supreme. These bills will be implemented and strongly implemented. Systems will be put in place to guard it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bose. Although I would like to mention two things. First thing is, you were mentioning about the unknown faces, but till 2 days or 3 days or 1 week before, the party was with you, the leaders were with you. When you know that they were earning so much money, why not no action was taken earlier? Why after they left your, not your means the government of India, that now we are receiving on the lots of WhatsApp the message against them. I think the government should have taken action at that time only to cleanse the situation. That is number one. Number two, you have mentioned about the manifesto. Yes, but there is a defense which was given by the former Union Finance Minister. Again, I will not name. And what he said that this manifesto also promised to enable farmers, companies, organizations to access technology and also set up educate infrastructure in large villages and small towns to help them trade freely. Once they were accomplished, then only we have promised to repeal the APMC Act. But this is a matter of discussion again in any other forum. But yes, what you said is right, that until unless somebody has to take the action, we cannot, and these types of commission agents should have gone. My only thing is, please, the government of India should do actions. Even those who are in the power today, if they are doing anything wrong, they should be removed. Instead that they leave the government, the action should be from the government side, not from their side, and then they become like a martyr that we have quit for the benefit of the farmers. Earlier they were not, because they were enjoying the power. Thank you, Dr. Bose. Now I would like to go to Mr. Keshwan. Mr. Keshwan, my question to you is, like Dr. Bose has mentioned about the storage, you have also mentioned about the storage, cold storage, etc. See, it is not possible for the farmer for himself to store or store in a very big way because of the constraints of the finances. It means, again, the corporates will come in, they will procure and they will store, fine. But when the prices will go up in the market, then they will sell, which we are seeing in the case of onions, which was the hint given by Dr. Bose. He has not named the person, but everybody knows who holds the onion mandi or the entire market in Maharashtra. Now, that onion was so important that it has changed one government in Delhi. So don't you think tomorrow, once this will be coming out from one of the devil and it's going to another devil, I'm not saying that corporates are devil, but I'm saying from one to A to B, and the B have lots of more power, money power, risk-taking power, and they will store more and then they will wait. once the prices will go up in the market, then they will start selling the produce. And ultimately, the sufferer will be the public at large, and the farmer will get only the money which he has received earlier. What you say about this, Mr. Keshwan?
Uh, this is the worry a lot of people express. But I can only give you a live example that why this will not be the situation. First thing, you are making an assumption that there will be large people, I don't want to call them corporate, there will be single large entities who will buy. I think the whole idea, see, this happened when you had an APMC, you had mandis, you had 7,000 mandis probably in the whole of India. Maybe active mandis may be much smaller, really big mandis will be smaller. See, when you allow private come in, you will get all kinds of sizes coming in. And every time you think that large is always good, may not be true when it comes to food. Because you also very important to have storage at what we call as the farm gate. Actually, what you require is a hub and spoke mechanism, like something like Amul did for dairy. That is a very similar kind of mechanism you really require for the agriculture, hub and spoke model. So I genuinely believe when it comes to an hub and spoke model, there is going to be a gameplay for the big and the small and all kind. Second is competition. See, today there is no competition from the buying side. Mandis, one large mandi dictates all the so-called command area, which is true in many areas. It's also true in sugarcane, it's also true in mandis. This will change when you allow everybody to play because you're really going to create a lot of people wanting to become buyers. Okay, let me give you a live example. I'm not going to quote the state because then it becomes very obvious. About 3 months, 2.5 months back, the state introduced an additional 2.5% tax on mandis. All the mandis there, I think that state had active mandis of 550. The mandis threatened that they will stop buying. And this was the peak of harvesting season. I happened to talk to the to the agricultural commissioner and said, look, this will be bad if this happens because agriculture, if you know, people don't procure at that time and you don't facilitate, farmers are going to suffer and it will have rippling action. It's not farmers suffering, the entire economy, rural economy will struggle. So I expected a concern. He smiled at me and said, don't worry, it's not going to happen. And I'm sure that these mandi owners will come back and accept our terms in 2 days' time. I said, how? He says, Keshav, you don't believe. I have created 2,000 private people who can buy from farmers. And they already started buying. And says, because there is a competition, all that muscle the mandi for the so-called collective buyers could do is slowly vanishing. And believe it or not, what he said came true. After about 1.5 days, they withdrew the agitation. Mandis came back into normal operation because they felt if they don't act now, whatever they were buying will be taken away with the private people. That is the strength of competition.
Okay.
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 So I don't think that's going to be a problem. And our people are smart enough, sir. I mean,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Keshwan. Time is short. Mr. Jose Thomas wants to go, but my last question to you is whether the purchaser shall be bound by MSP, Mr. Thomas, in this, according to you, in these acts?
Yes, I think so.
Because that is the main reservation of the farmers community, that the MSP will not be there. They will pay I will not use the word corporate because Mr. Keshwan is having lots of objection about using the corporate, but the large buyer will has to bound to pay minimum MSP, minimum price, support price, or not, or can he purchase the less than MSP?
No, we should go maximum price because the farmers must get maximum price. They are doing a lot of work for their cultivation and farm and products. So let him get the maximum price.
Okay, thank you very much. So today you have seen, I don't have time now to, but today you have seen how the cases, the leaders, experts in different fields, whether from the government side, from the corporate side, or because he's representing he's the chairman of the FICCI Committee on Agriculture, as well as agriculturalist himself. They all are supporting these agriculture farm acts. Although I will tell you, I want to be very, very frank. This is the first subject in last 6 months that I have to lose my night. I could not sleep because it was such a complicated thing and I have to work very hard. After all, the farmers are our andata. We have to think about them more than anyone else. But yes, I have to study the bills and now the act. And I found that yes, if it is implemented properly, if those conditions which has been raised by the opposition or the farmers, one is that minimum, that MSP thing, which according to Mr. Thomas, yes, it will be, then there is nothing wrong in this bill, because these acts are what even the opposition parties have wanted to bring earlier, which Dr. Bose has also mentioned. And so when everyone was agreeing on this, yes, some riders like Mr. Keshwan has mentioned that we must have a agriculture council, like on the lines of GST council, where all the stakeholders of the states has to be the stakeholders. And once it will be done, I am sure this implementation bill of the act will benefit the farmers, and with the conditions which are already there, which I have studied, and I found there are conditions where the farmer can raise his or her grievances. There is a mechanism, so we should not worry about it. We must protest, no problem. As Dr. Bose says, the democracy, vibrant democracy requires resentment, but we should not put others in trouble, especially in the COVID time, when we are facing lots of problem by stopping the traffic or doing something which can create a problem for the country. After all, we all have to save our lives first, and we should also think about the farmers. Thank you very much. And today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Saroka News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And I would like to thank you all for joining. And our endeavor is to bring every day a new topic. And tomorrow is the topic of the media conference with Lal Goel is the World Heart Day. And our panelists are Padam Shri Professor Dr. Govindan Vijay Raghavan. He is the Vice Chairman and Director, Dean, Postgraduate Medical Studies, Head of Cardiology, Kerala Institute of Medical Sciences, Trivandrum. Professor Dr. Vivek Gupta, Senior Interventional Cardiologist, Apollo Hospitals, New Delhi. Dr. Srinivas Ramaka, Consultant Cardiologist, Srinivas Heart Center, Chairman, Srinivas Heart Foundation, Warangal. And Dr. Rachel Daniel, Chief Interventional Cardiologist, NS Memorial Institute of Medical Sciences, Kollam. So please do join tomorrow and the media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose. Thank you, Mr. T.R. Keshwan. And thank you, Mr. Jose Thomas, for joining and giving your views. Thank you very much.
Thank you.